Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. There is a sad story that happened today in Chuka when Kenyans took to the streets to demonstrate because they were expressing their displeasure against the insecurity in that area. And I think they carried the corpse of the man who had been murdered by a certain group of I think robbers who have been marauding that area and killing innocent people. So in that ensuing melee, one of the chairmen of the Boda Association was targeted and he was shot dead. Mr. Willis Mugambi met his death when they were only expressing their displeasure. And we've always said that the Constitution allows peaceful demonstrations and picketing. We do not know whether this was peaceful, but from the chilling confessions from that we hear and what we had seen, there was a lot of noise, but I didn't see them trying to fight the police. They didn't have any weapons. Nevertheless, he met his death. As sad as it is, because I've always said that one life lost is just life too many. But there is a twist to this death that I want us to talk about, because some people are now taking another side of it that I really didn't like. There's a blogger from Central Province, a very famous blogger. His name is Mr. Kinuthia Pius. And if you go to his Twitter handle, he says that he is the voice against institutional fraud, and he says against corporate malpractices and bad governance. That is what he says. So Mr. Kinuthia Pius went to his Twitter handle and he wrote some chilling allegations which are really very disturbing. And this is what he wrote: that the same man who congratulated police killing Azimio protesters last week, killed by the same police. And he goes ahead to say that Willis Mugambi, a Boda chairman who congratulated police for using force to kill and maim Azimio supporters in Demos, shot dead yesterday during their demonstrations in Chuka town. So Mr. Kinuthia Pius is alleging that last week when Azimio supporters went on demonstrations, they met the brutal force from arrogant and rogue policemen, because you also how the police was using live bullets, tear gas, water cannons on peaceful demonstrators. We have the video, you've seen it, the video going viral of this rogue police officer attached to Embakasi station who broke into a vehicle that belongs to the media fraternity and shot at close range tear gas and left them choking. The end result was several of the journalists were really injured. Later, the Inspector General apologized, but it is not enough because we feel that some people must be brought to book. Let me say this: even if Mr. Mugambi congratulated the police when they were using force on Azimio supporters, it is wrong, but this matter must be investigated. Before I get into it, I just want us to say one thing here. An injustice to one person is an injustice everywhere. And have always pleaded with our fellow Kenyans to be very careful. When you see the police breaking a law on your fellow Kenyan, maybe because he's not of your political class, he belongs to a different tribe, or he supports a different party, please don't celebrate. We should come and condemn on equal measures. Some people were very happy when Azimio supporters were being killed. But this must be condemned. The same way when you see the police killing supporters of maybe UDA or Kenya Kwanza, that must be condemned on equal measure. If Mr. Mugambi did that, it is very wrong. But now that Mr. Mugambi is no more, I think we should rest his soul rest in peace. But this is what I want to say. The IPOA must come in and investigate this chilling murder to the very last core. Because other confessions from elderly mothers were saying that the police used that heavy stick and they really beat and hit several people in that melee. They didn't care whether an old mama, an old granny, they really beat people there. And I think this is very wrong. The only time when the police is supposed to use brutal force is when their lives are in danger, or when those who are demonstrating are invading people's property and breaking into shops and all such kind of things. Then they can use tear gas to scare away the demonstrators. But now it turns out that they targeted, because if you ask me, a Boda chairman is like a leader in himself. It is like he was leading it. It was like he was the ringleader, because they were demonstrating and there were several Boda groups. So I think he was the ringleader there, and they targeted him because they know that when you target the leader, then you will control them. But this is very sad, because I believe that Mr. Mugambi has a family. He might have left a widow, children. The parents are really now very sad because of unnecessary force. These people, I'm sure, if they had used tear gas, they would have separated and they would have cleared that road. I don't see the need why we should take a life of an innocent Kenyan. And the IPOA must come up with a report, and if any police officer will be found culpable, the police who is responsible for this must carry his own cross. He must be brought to book, and we don't expect the National Police Service to try and protect such kind of policemen, because they are the policemen who give the National Police Service a very bad image. I have always maintained that there are several police officers who are very good, who maintain law and order as it is stipulated in our constitution. But there are others who are still hell-bent on protecting what they feel is their government. Maybe because William Ruto or Rigathi Gachagua belong to their tribe, or they feel they love UDA so much, so they forget about the oath that they took to maintain law and order, and they now become, they are police in their uniforms, but they are civilians in their mentality. And so they use brutal force because they feel the opponents are the people who are demonstrating. This is a lesson that I want us to learn, because I just want us to repeat this. Kenyans must understand that there are only two tribes in our nation, the haves and the have-nots. I'm one person who believes that your neighbor will always remain your neighbor. Raila Odinga, William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua, and all those people live in the high-end places in Karen. Most hustlers can't afford to live in Karen. And they are the people at the lower cadre of the social and economic level. They allow themselves to be used so much. They are the people whom you will see at the front line when people are fighting the police. The other day when they invaded Uhuru's land, majority of those who were there were hustlers. It is easy to hoodwink them and tell them that Uhuru took your land and that is why you are landless. They can easily allow themselves to be used in hooliganism. When it was alleged that the deputy president and Kimani Ichung'wah and Ndindi Nyoro were planning to cause mayhem in Azimio rallies, and there were certain goons, I believe the same goons who went to invade Uhuru's land and later torched mosques and churches, those are hustlers. The same hustlers who William Ruto campaigned and told that their welfare will be looked at. The same hustlers whom William Ruto told that they will be appointed into public offices. They are now left on their own. What is happening now is that William Ruto is thinking of 2027 and is appointing people like Evans Kidero, people like Dennis Itumbi, people like Millicent Omanga. They have been completely forgotten. So I want to remind Kenyans to ensure that they be very careful not to be used by the politicians. This murder must be brought to book, but if at all you are celebrating persecution of your fellow Kenyan because he belongs to another political party or political affiliation, just know that it is wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my take.